Punch-drunk love and hollow fake highs. I don't understand you, can't even promise to try. Cremate my hate, three-face. Girl, can I borrow an eye? It's been 5 years, a long time. My decision, I didn't want to. You made me a high percentage of kids like me, they're all crazy. You never loved us children. God as my only witness, as my holy witness. But you can't die, can't die. You owe me my forgiveness.
Finally getting out of the office, calling you from LA to tell me that the ad for the rebroadcast of some Eddie Murphy movie on the USA Network just isn't what they were hoping for.
In some ways, I feel like I know the students better than I could have if we were in person. When I'm in sort of crowd control of a large ensemble, it's really hard for me to get to know each student and what they're going through. And one thing that's been really great about the online instruction is we can help them work through some of the things that they're developing on their instrument or some kind of challenge that they're facing. Having a one-on-one, face-to-face with a student is really powerful and really, I think, keeps them connected. And, you know, because we're not physically in a building, our school really is about that tether and about that relationship that we have with them that I actually didn't have last year before COVID. So for me, I hope we don't lose that because I really appreciate that. I really appreciate just that feeling of like, I actually know who this kid is now.
I just decided to attend because I really wanted to go for more, and I really wanted to make a decision for myself to grow. I've grown mentally from being at NMSA.
It was kind of like my goal actually in elementary school I was like, I'm going to NMSA. I just felt like there was no other option for me. Like music and art is just what I do every day. I can't really go a day without doing something to do with that. I really don't know what I would do.
They want to be here. They want to learn from us. We have a pretty high level of engagement, which I'm really grateful for because, you know, I'm not teaching to blank screens. And I know it's because, you know, they auditioned to be at this school. They want to play their instrument.
I'm Karina Hean, the Chair of Visual Art at New Mexico School for the Arts. I wanted to make a transition to living in Santa Fe area and teaching in the visual arts. So I taught at local colleges and NMSA part-time for a few years and just fell in love with teaching the high school students and seeing the impact learning in the arts and at this young age had on them. And then I realized also by about year 2, how hungry they were for this kind of interaction and coaching and guidance in visual art. I'm really, to be honest, in my dream job. Now that you've got your basic shape structure, you can start to analyze the shapes within the shapes. And this is still not detail. It's still really basic other shapes that are in the shape. So you might start to divide fingers into digits. So upper digit of knuckle, lower digit below the knuckle.
Studying visual arts has been really like a really great blessing for me. It really helps me outlet a lot of my stress. And so it's a really great way to end the day every day. And I'm really grateful that I have that opportunity. It's actually really helped me with just simple math that I can just do.
I've become more dependent on my art. I've spent more time just drawing because it makes me happy, or drawing things that I find funny, things that to make my day a little bit more interesting. Just drawing for the sake of enjoyment.
It's interesting to be able to have like such a zoomed in focus in the moment, because I can pull up an individual screen of an individual dancer and be able to analyze what they're doing, which is actually a really cool opportunity. Being at home, I can give an assignment to go outside and to experience and interact with and take inspiration from nature and things like that. So there are some new ways that I'm applying a different direction or different trajectory of the curriculum.
Into the bar and back. Thank you. Pas de cheval derrière. Schwa schwa. Big stretch. Sound effects are welcome. Lift and reach and arabesque and penché and split, 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 split. 6 o'clock penché. Bring it on back. Look at you, Sophie, getting up to 6 o'clock like it's no big deal. Awesome. You actually went a little bit past a split. That was great.
A lot of people take the line that you reach liberation through technique. So once you have a mastery of technique, you can start to break down those dynamics and explore the kind of like dichotomy between a highly technical movement and a highly maybe expressive or artistic movement. So leaning a little bit more into personal expression and artistic voice, the students are definitely, I see them like willing to break down kind of the structural norms of what they're producing and get more in touch with like the subtlety or the nuance of how am I expressing or evoking this feeling or response in the viewer. I'm kind of finding where like when we come back together, where there will be a melding of these two sides from the learning we're doing right now.
There's been a lot of new challenges. I found it hard to like find motivation. When I come to like dance, I learn like techniques of like how to like calm myself down and really like just settle in and what my body needs and what my mind needs. I just use those techniques that we use at school. So like some days I just need to get off camera for just like a second and just like really breathe and like settle into my body. And that from dance has really helped me just not only as schoolwork, but like through everything, you know? One positive thing that like I just tell myself is that I have a community and support, not only for my family, but what I also learned is that I have so much support within the teachers and the school that I never really realized until this pandemic happened.
So am I revenged? I would be scanned. A villain kills my father, and for that, I, his sole son, to the same villain sent to heaven.
So about 13 years ago, I found out that they were starting a school called NMSA, and I was very curious about it. So I went to a couple of meetings to talk about the school and how it would fit into the state. And at some point I realized, maybe I should apply for the job, and which I did. And fortunately, I was accepted to take the chairmanship of the theater department about 10 and a half years ago. I think the primary teaching challenges are to keep the curriculum creative and challenging for the students, as well as learning how to operate in this new Zoom world. Well, first thing that I did, and along with my colleagues, was we started doing a lot of research into the new online platforms, what tools were available for us to use, what strategies work best over recordings over Zoom, and how to really engage the students, from simple things like having them turn on their cameras to be sure that they're in costume when they show up to do their scene.
The thing I've learned most and am most proud of is kind of my resilience and my ability to be accountable and responsible for, working kind of a little bit more individually. And I think that that's a great skill that I'm sure is going to be very useful in college. And I feel like this whole thing has given me kind of a head start on that. And I feel like it's a very maturing experience for me. I hope to work in an engineering firm or, start my own company or something like that. But whatever it is, I know that I'm either going to be a team player myself or a team leader. And I think NMSA has taught me really how to be both. And so, how to be a receptive listener as a team leader, and then, synthesizing everyone's ideas into one cohesive idea, but also being a team player and just really, maybe listening to a director and just doing what they say and, knowing that it's for the betterment of the entire piece. So I think I couldn't have learned a lot of the things I learned about engineering in any other, in a better way than attending NMSA.
My biggest accomplishment would be passing 9th grade. For me, that was a pretty big accomplishment because it was my first year of high school and it was terrifying. It felt like everybody was towering over me because I've been in elementary school and middle school, so I wasn't used to that yet. Once I got through it, I was like, I know I can do this. So I would say that was one of my biggest accomplishments.
1. Something I needed to say. The last leech on my cheek, I spread my gum into legacy, spit my bone into leisure, rip my flesh from the melody. To fill a body with goosebumps is to say, a thread woven down the spine cannot be tethered to another person, but the spigot of your heart can be spread to each blade of grass growing inside of it.
One positive thing that I have learned throughout this time that I will most likely carry throughout my life, probably just be ready for anything. I feel so much more confident in all my subjects, than when I first got here. For example, Algebra 1 and English 1. In my last school, I was having lots of problems and troubles with Algebra 1. Now I feel so much more confident and I feel like I can do a wider range of problem solving.
Specific changes we've made would include actually having more independent learning time away from the camera as much as we can, which I think in the end serves young artists as they learn skills like independence, self-discipline, self-reliance, which in the end are going to be what helps them most as young artists entering either university or into an arts workplace. Well, we're doing our best to make sure that the students aren't spending their art-making time on camera, and we're fortunate in that as a writing department, we generally require fewer tools and less logistics. A pen and paper will do. But it is, the larger question is how we can negotiate around the idea of group work and spontaneity. And so one of the things we've done is we've set up a regular open mic night that allows the students to interact across grades, which was something I was worried about them losing. And I think our first open mic night for creative writing was one of the best poetry readings I've been to in a very, very long time.
I wanted to find a place where I felt like I belonged. I felt like in my other schools, I hadn't had that sense of community. I think since COVID-19 started, there's been this growing sense of isolation. But I feel like attending online school and keeping up with my community and friends and art writing. Every morning I get up and write. That sense of isolation has lessened a little bit. I think my art is an experience of solitude. I feel like when I'm writing specifically, I'm in my own space and my own mind where I could just be free and myself without the stresses of the world at the moment.
Well, I would say that it's kind of uplifted my ability to create art. This has kind of, I feel like, brought out different sides in people, myself included. And I've kind of just realized the importance of like the little things and the importance of being true to who you are, which sounds kind of cheesy, but out of all of like this whole global pandemic, I can say that I came out of it like a different person than when I came into it.
Have any advice for somebody, like a new student that's coming in, something that you learned that might help them?
Don't be scared of what's going to come. Just do your best and like don't give up. It's not worth it. Like keep going.
If there is one word that describes our students during this time, what would that word be?
Tenacious.
Resourceful.
Has got to be resilience.
Adaptable.
I mean, there really isn't one word. I think, resilient, inspiring, passionate, brave, risk-taking, compassionate, all of those would apply. I think that we have just such a wonderful range of students that despite our circumstances, it's just an honor and a pleasure to be able to teach them and work with them and learn from them.
Thank you so much for everything that you do for us. We are so very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for making this a reality.